We're ready. You're ready. Kristen, I didn't hear from her. Oh, Kristen is this one. She's in Chicago. Okay, so. Happy birthday. So, Tom is not. Ready? Sure. All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is our regular meeting dated September 17th, 7 p.m. We'll start by, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next item on the agenda is B, order of business. I have no changes to the order of business, so we'll move on to item number C, communication to the Board of Education and public comment. Communication to the board, I'm not aware of any.
No, sir.
Okay. And we have no public here, so I think we're good, right?
Light agenda.
Right. Item D, superintendent's report.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Want to kick off with a quote that I want to share with everybody because I feel it embodies a lot of what we do in our public service, in education, in our beautiful community of New Hartford. It's by Booker T. Washington. The quote is, "Those who are happiest are those that do the most for others." So my Board of Ed, I know that you, as well as I and all of our teachers and administration and our school staff do a lot for others. So hopefully that quote finds everybody well. We kicked off the school year on Monday, August 26th at Convocation right here at Anna Antolini. Our theme this year is growing our own. Lots of thanks to be given to a lot of people. So I want to start off with first thanking First Selectman Dan Jerem and Board of Finance Chairwoman Carrie Guilfoyle speaking during our convocation. Also, thank you to Ron Berger, who was our guest speaker, who placed the focus and attention of our work on the beautiful work that students create. So it was very inspiring. Special thank you to Dr. Kelly Carroll, who connected with our graduates and compiled an inspirational video montage of former students and where they are today. It was really awesome to see, and I shared that with the Board of Ed as well. Thank you to Amy Kennedy, Heather Mathis, and Mike Lynch for their diligent professional development coordination and scheduling to meet the needs of our staff. I want to give a special thanks to our central office staff as well for their coordination with Ed Advance to ensure a great start. And a profound thanks to the Board of Finance, to the entire New Hartford community for their support. And thank you to each one of you, board members, for your volunteer position to ensure that each student's needs are met. We opened schools on Wednesday, August the 28th, thanks to the efforts of our custodians, principals, front office staff, nurses, 44 teachers, and 25 paraeducators, and so many more. Our school staff welcomed 433 students who all arrived safely thanks to our bus drivers and parents that drove our kiddos in. And we recently held our open houses at all three schools. Those evenings are filled with electric excitement from our students and their families. And we look forward to a successful school year. So thanks to all, as we cannot do this work alone. It really, truly takes a lot of hands, and it takes an entire village to make sure that we open up smoothly. And 14 days in, things are going very well. So I wanted to share that quick update with all of the board. That is all, sir.
Excellent.
Are we going to do the student report again this year?
Yes, we will have student representatives on the board. Those are being selected through a process this year.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to item number F, routine business, approval of minutes from our August 20th.
You don't have a report to give? That was next, wasn't it?
Oh, I'm sorry, I checked it. No, I do not have a report to give. Thank you. Thank you. No, I have no report tonight. So item number F, routine business, approval of minutes from our August 20th, 2024 meeting. I entertain a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Frank, second by Penny. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. That's unanimous. Next item is the expenditure report. Are there any questions? Actually, I should entertain a motion to approve the expenditure report.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Penny. Is there a second? We have a second.
Eric.
Second by Eric, yep. Any discussion on the expenditure report? All right, again, as I look at this, right, there's more and more detail to this, which our superintendent had reviewed with us. I think it was the last meeting the weekend before. Again, I like this format. I like to be able to go through this detail. It aligns with our budget, which is nice. So I don't have any questions. So seeing no questions, I'll entertain, or I'll put it for a vote. All those to approve, please signify by raising your hand. That is also unanimous. All right, moving right along. New business for this meeting. We have the first read of 4 policies and regulations. Penny, you're going to bring us through these?
Yep.
All right.
All right, the first one is policy 4115, policy for educator and leader evaluation support. I trust. Oh, thank you. Are there any questions or comments?
Were there any changes? I don't think I saw any highlighted changes in the policies.
I don't believe that there were on this one.
Yeah, may I comment?
Sure,
All right.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. So this is reflective of the teacher and leader evaluation plan that we already submitted, and they provided and stamped. We're way ahead of the game. We're a year ahead. So we've submitted our plan. We love the fact that the Board of Education supported it. We love the fact that our teachers are going to be delving into it in full-fledged in October. So we're looking forward to that. And of course, as we said at our last meeting, probably in May or June, if there's revisions to that plan, we'll bring it again before the board and take a look at that then. But we're excited to start that. This policy basically states that we are going to be in compliance with it, but we have created our own plan. We're excited about it. That's what this new policy states.
Thank you. The next one for first read is policy 5131.911, the Connecticut School Climate Policy. Does anybody have any questions? There aren't any changes to this one. I believe this is something we already do also.
That is absolutely correct. Perfect. It is, we currently have a climate committee and a climate policy in place. This again lines up better with the work that we started to do with one of the other policies regarding student challenging behavior. This incorporates that and brings it up to date.
Thanks.
Sure.
The third policy for the first read is P3171.1, non-lapsing education fund non-regional school districts. The changes that we added was to put in the first paragraph, New Hartford Board of Education. And then at the bottom of the page, the reverse fund for educational expenditures has been crossed out because we are not a regional school district. And I believe this will take the place of the one that we currently have through the Board of Finance, with the Board of Finance.
No, this one is a new board policy because the new legislation passed this law that boards of education can put up to 2% of their total budgeted appropriation in a non-lapsing account. Prior to that, what simply happened was the Board of Education would motion to do that. Then it would be taken to the Board of Finance. Then the Board of Finance would vote. Then they would put it in the non-lapsing account. That eliminates those latter 2 steps. We vote here, it goes into non-lapsing. That's the end.
So I do have a question. The money that is currently in the non-lapsing account through the Board of Finance, do they control then that money or do we get that back and it goes into our account?
Yes, it'll be one account, Penny. So what's in there now, plus anything additionally that we put in there going forward will be one non-lapsing account. We're not creating two.
So we don't have to go back to them to ask to spend it.
No, but we will be wise to conduct a memorandum of understanding so
Right.
that we have a policy in place and an understanding with the Board of Finance's input, Board of Education input, so that we could do that without conflict.
But it can only be used for
Education-
educational
Correct.
and
Educational,
not for salaries. correct?
educational expenses.
As an example, what?
Could be anything that comes about that, let's say we needed to hire an additional teacher because of a shortage that we had that we couldn't anticipate. It could be because we are purchasing additional programmatic needs for our kids. It's really educational. I mean, it's very broad in general. It's meant to be that way in the legislature and in the law so that the boards of education have a greater say over what they're going to, A, be putting aside, and B, what they're going to be expending it upon.
So if you're saying it can be used for a teacher, does that mean it can be used for the salary for that teacher?
Yes, because that would be an educational purpose. So if you
Okay.
look at number 2, any expenditure, listed number 2, each expenditure from such account shall be made only for educational purposes.
Okay.
And because our business is education as a Board of Education, it's going to be for educational purposes.
Okay.
I was gonna say, it really falls with anything within our budget,
That is correct.
right? Any line item in our budget can
Yeah.
fall within an expenditure that comes from the non-lapsing account.
Okay. Thank you.
So if we're asking for cruises, that's not going to happen. That's not an educational expense, right? Just as a joking aside. But anything educationally sound that the board feels that is, or votes in, that's what we're going to use it for.
So just for clarity, right, there isn't a change at this point in the expenditure from the non-lapsing account. There's no change in statute regarding expending that funds that have been in that account, which is
That is correct.
$115,000 or so
Yep.
right now.
Yep.
The change is prior to this statute being written, we did have to request the authorization from the Board of Finance in New Hartford to be able to put money into that account.
That is correct. Any boards of education in the state of Connecticut now have the authority with this to put in up to 2% of their budgeted appropriation for education into the non-lapsing account.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
The last policy for our first read is P0521, non-discrimination policy and notice. It's actually just called non-discrimination. The only changes are adding in New Hartford before public schools and Board of Education. On the second page, we put in the title of Director of Student Services, their address and phone number and website address. On page C, there is a strikeout. It says include a link to the location on the website.
You see that right below? You see it right below, Penny? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any on page 1,
Yep,
the space between, the 5th paragraph, the backspace on the new Hartford, new spaces.
yeah, you're right.
I know you were skipping on that.
Yeah, thank you for noticing. You see it, Jeff?
Yes, noted.
So we'll discuss these at our next meeting.
These will be second read at the next board
Right.
meeting. Is that what you meant?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
That's what I meant.
All right.
Can we move on to old business?
We
I
can.
can continue.
Yes, moving on to old business. Old business are second reads of 2 policies and regulations. And Penny
The
will
first
bring us
one
through those.
is P4112.5. It's on personnel security check, fingerprinting, criminal justice information. We had gone over these, I believe, at our last meeting. Are there any questions, comments? Yes, the changes are noted in red. For New Hartford was put in front of school district or Board of Education or public schools. And on the first page, It said Board Policy 4112.51. It was updated in 2019. On page E, no, sorry, on page D, it says non-criminal agency coordinator. That is the executive assistant to the superintendent. And then on the next page, the local agency security officer is the superintendent of schools and is responsible for the following. Talks about media protection. And that's it. Oh, except on page H, we put in New Hartford Public Schools in the middle of the page and at the bottom of the page.
So Penny, if I can ask quickly, the strikeouts in here, I assume are the changes as well.
Yes,
The, refresh my memory, the school nurses and nurse practitioners on the first page. A, school nurses, nurses and nurse practitioners appointed by the Board of Education or under contract with the Board of Education also submitting to a criminal history check pursuant to Connecticut General Statute. Why is that struck?
Jeff, you know why it's struck?
I believe it's because they all go through the DCF registry and child abuse and background checks, which would pull all of that through. If I remember correct, I'd have to
So
reread this.
pre-hire, they go through the.
Yeah,
background
they
check.
do. They absolutely still have to. Yes. Yep. Yeah, the student teachers placed in district as part of completing preparation, they go through the same type of background checks that all of our other certified and non-certifieds go through.
With the second reads, again, we should have started with a motion and
yes.
a second prior to discussion. So
Yep.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the policy and regulation 4112.5 and 4212.5 personnel. Motion by Frank. Can I get a second? Second by Deirdre. Is there any further conversation, discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. That is unanimous. Penny, quickly, before we get into the next one, can I get a motion to approve policy and regulation 5144.12 students? Motion by Frank. Can I get a second, please? Second by Eric. Thank you. Any
Eric.
Penny, please. No, yeah, yep, I got it. Please bring us through the policy.
Okay, so the last one for the second read, policy and regulations 5144.12, students challenging behavior prevention, restorative practices response. This is a model policy. It says at the top of the page to consider. It's a required policy starting in July of 2025, which is now less than a year away.
Yep.
Again, where needed, New Hartford Public Schools or New Hartford was placed throughout this policy. On page E, under general policy guidelines, the numbers 1, 2, and 3 with parentheses were added because they were not there previously. On, what is the, regulation 5144.12A, there's a lot of changes. They're listed in red. Which we went through, I believe, at the last meeting. Is there any comments about them?
If I may.
Yes, I'm sorry.
No problem. Under regulation 5114.12, letter E, if everyone can flip to that. The last time we had a discussion here at the board relative to classroom-based strategies to reduce challenging behaviors. And there was another question on the subsequent page. So let me just make points of clarity before the board decides to accept as is or make modifications. So the first, I contacted CABE to discuss why writing an apology letter would be seen as something that could be removed as a classroom strategy. Their explanation was the board discussed last time, maybe we should leave it in. CABE's response was that we should remove it because the whole point is to have children have meaningful discussions with each other versus writing a letter and not having an opportunity to talk. So that was their justification there for the board's consideration before we vote to approve or amend this. And the assignment of additional tasks, last time we said that we would remove that because again, it takes away the spirit of children sitting down and actually having a conversation about what happened. Then on the subsequent page, the questions came about why detention was being removed in community service. So those were not technically removed. If you look below, they are actually further described. So detention after school hours is provided in the section below entitled detention after school. That's being struck as one of the school-based strategies because it's described later below in full effect. The same with the community service. So those are not being removed as strategies. They're just being better explained down below. So just wanted to provide those 2 points of clarity before the board decides what to do with those two elements that we had discussed rather robustly last time when we were together, if I recall. That is all.
But they're still removing number 12 in accordance.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
I don't want to drag this out, but the apology letter, did they strike that in the first place?
Yes, that was stricken. That was an original.
You know, sometimes as a teacher who's in a classroom with students, you have people that are in think tanks that are a little removed from reality. And sometimes you get a kid that sitting down and talking is just not in their toolkit. And so writing might be an option. I know that it's, you know, like I guess you could still do it as an option, but I think that that's a, you know, it doesn't mean they have to write an apology letter, but it could be a tool. I have kids that communicate much better in writing and they're very uncomfortable in person. And I like leaving the tool in the toolkit. Doesn't hurt. Oh.
Anybody else have any comments or questions?
I mean, I think it just depends on their learning style and their personality. I think like they said, there's reading skill sets and speak through communication through mouth, or they are better writers and they can, they're more comfortable doing that. So maybe we need to do some speaking again as an option.
From personal experience, I've used that a few times and it has been effective.
What, to have them write a letter?
Yeah.
Can't hurt.
Oftentimes, it's the child, him or herself, that will make that decision to do the apology letter.
Versus speaking to them in person.
Right, if they had a choice, right,
do the
that
letter.
might be one of their choices. Would the speaking in person part be included where it says restorative conference with student, or?
That's exactly correct. Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yep.
I do understand why they would like to get rid of it, but I'm also okay with leaving it in there.
I think that's what we more or less decided at the last meeting, to leave it in. And then, like Jeff said, he contacted CABE to see why they removed it.
So CABE writes these as templates, districts can use them and edit them.
Yeah, CABE has a legal department with two pretty well-versed lawyers that do legislative updates all the time for boards of education, also for superintendents. So they do write them based on the law and they update policies. So that has been taken into account, but they write templates or they write policies that are given to boards of education for their implementation. Some are mandatory, some are not, right? But if we see it as fit that we leave that in there, we leave it in. That's up to our purview. That's the Board of Education's purview, not really my purview, to be honest. I just enforce them. But it's up to the Board of Education to leave it in. If you guys want to leave it in, we'll vote as such in the motion. and then it carries through, and the writing of an apology letter remains.
I mean, I think we have 2 teachers here, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That
Yeah.
have said that it may be an effective
Yep.
tool, so I feel like we
Jeff, on the classroom-based versus school-based strategies, does this policy, I didn't see it, maybe I missed it,
Mhm.
speak to who has the authority to exercise any of these strategies?
Yes, yep. From administration, if it's a higher level of disciplinary action, to any other staff member or certified or not that is working with children. And there's like a tier 1, there's tier 2, like it escalates, it gets progressively more involved if necessary, but it also doesn't preclude, support specialists like a social worker or a school psychologist from helping and sitting down with kids as well, that they might need that support or help, or another trusted adult. So it gives some general pieces, but if needed, more support is within here as well. So, but a detention is typically not assigned by a classroom teacher without obviously the knowledge of the principal, and before that, the parents' awareness as well, just as an example.
Well, and that's exactly where I was going. Is
Yep.
who has the ability to hold a child for detention?
Mhm.
Does a school teacher have that ability? Does a para have that ability, or does that rest with the administration?
Teacher and admin, and they would be doing that in conjunction. Paraeducators would not. No, be a certified staff member.
And is that in here
Yes,
somewhere?
and it is our practice. Yes, sir. Yep. Not used very often, to be honest. We have really well-behaved kids in that respect, by all accounts. But if necessary, yes. Classroom teacher in contact with the family, or principal in contact with the family as well, if necessary.
And do we differentiate between this refers to a detention after school?
Mm-hmm.
Do we exercise detentions in school?
Sure. Yep. Yep. As again, one of those progressive pieces, or something that a child can do reflectively with an adult if needed. There might be something, for example, like a lunch detention, where they're spending time discussing whatever action or choice they made with an adult and with the other participant as well that was involved. Maybe someone that they offended or someone that they harmed, or vice versa. So they would do that with the facility, especially at our age group and at our age levels, with an adult to support them.
Do you think on the regulation on page B, we need to leave in number 4 where it says for middle, junior high, and high schools, students enrolled in the school? It's an R page.
Oh, regulations.
It's a right-handed page.
B, is that right?
B,
Got
this page. So where it says number 4,
I would, if I were to recommend something, I would say for middle, or for all students enrolled in the school. We could strike out junior high and high schools because it's not really applicable, but we do have 6th graders, which in some cases would be considered middle school. For our district, they're considered elementary school students. That would be, I would leave that up to the board, but the high schools can certainly be stricken.
why
if you would
couldn't we
like.
just say for all students enrolled in
Sure.
New Hartford Public Schools?
Well, this is a New Hartford Board of Ed policy, so that would be understood, but for all students enrolled in the school would be appropriate.
Okay.
But the board, again, that would be a motion to make that change, and then I would submit that and get that done.
Is there any further discussion? Other questions, comments?
Can we make that change?
Yeah, Frank,
Yes.
Frank would have to
Amend
amend
it.
your motion.
Correct.
So I heard two,
Change of number 4.
so your change on number,
On this
page number
B.
R5144.12E is to leave in number 3, writing an apology letter? Is that correct?
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
that one first.
And then,
And also the
and the change that you just made on R5144.12B, school level rules 4, to strike middle, junior high, and high schools. Yep.
For all students enrolled in school, or just students enrolled in school? For my clarity purposes.
For all?
For all.
Okay, very good, got it.
However, does that mean though, a student will have to be, there'll have to be one representative student in all kind of development of rules?
Say that again.
It says you need at least one representative selected by each of the following groups. So if we say students enrolled in the school, that means we're going to need to have at least one student enrolled at Antolini School to be part of this group, whatever it may be.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Is that something that we want to make sure that they have? Would it be appropriate for a 10-year-old or a sixth grader to be involved in that kind of rulemaking process?
Is that for the board's consideration, or are you asking me, Eric?
No,
I
it's a good-
apologize.
No, it's a good point.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know.
just
point.
don't
When
know
you're
if we
putting it out
should,
to
I
all
don't
or
know
just
if we
to
should
me?
When you're saying
require it.
all, right?
Yep.
You're saying a kindergartner could serve on this.
At
Well, it's
this
just
level,
one student rep.
But
at this level, I don't know if any students should be on this type of process. I think that's why they specified for middle, junior high, and high schools. Because they're a little bit older and they understand the process. I don't know. I guess I'm just saying sixth grade might still be too young.
I would agree with you, Eric.
should we just strike the whole number 4?
That's what I was thinking.
School shall solicit.
So I'm a huge advocate for student voice. I would be more, this is my level of comfort, that a sixth grade, we've had sixth grade representatives that have been on the Board of Ed
Mhm.
that are very impressive, mature, thoughtful individuals. So I would propose at least 6 for the board's consideration, because the board drives the policy. I'm just giving my input. That student voice is critical. It's really important. If you want buy-in, you want people's voices. The students do have a survey every year, a climate survey where we collect what they feel and about their school experiences. We do the same with our parents. Just for the board's consideration, think of student voice, because they live here every day with us, and their voice to me is important. I say that without, I don't want to be contrarian, but I want the board
When
to
I
at least
read
consider
the,
that.
when I read the line above, it doesn't suggest the kids are going to make the rules. They're just going to give feedback and view on it.
Yeah, and again, in one sense, they already do, Eric, through the climate survey. They have that opportunity and they do every single year.
Right.
As
If
we
it's,
shared.
if it's a survey, that's fine. But if we're meeting, in some sort of subcommittee, the students shouldn't be there.
Got it.
I can understand a sixth grader being on this committee, but not necessarily a kindergartner.
It sounds like two, all right, there's two options. So we either change this for sixth grade students enrolled in the school, or we strike the entire line.
We should just, my recommendation is to strike it.
Frank, how would you like to amend your motion?
My preference is to make it for sixth graders. Because I think they're only giving feedback. They're not making the rules.
Right, what's the level of participation of the children? As far, is it just feedback? Is that?
Yeah, it's a good point of clarity. If you just up above, it just says that they're participating, they're giving views or feedback of at least one rep from each of the following groups. So that's the drive there, is the student voice again, because they are part of this community.
Okay, so,
Would you mind saying, like,
yeah, I'll summarize. So this is what I heard, and again, Frank, you tell me, right, this is your motion. So what I heard is you have a motion to approve on the floor, to amend it to keep item 3, writing of apology letter in, which is on R5144.12E. And your second amendment is to change on page R5144.12B, school level rules, item 4, to four sixth grade students enrolled in the school.
Yes.
Okay, now the second was by Eric. Eric, do you support the amended motion? I do. Okay. Are you good there? Good.
Can you say it one more time?
So the second amendment is it's on R5144.12B, school level rules, item number 4. It's going to read for sixth grade students enrolled in the school. And we have an amended motion by Frank, seconded the amended motion by Eric. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the amended motion, please signify by raising your hand. That is unanimous.
Welcome.
Okay, next item on the, next item on the agenda, I reports Ed Advance. Deirdre, you're going to give that update?
Yes. All right, this agenda, sorry, this week goes on your package, we had another meeting, so,
Just talk about this one.
yeah, so I actually just gave like 5 bullet points here, I'm gonna choose this off my computer. All right.
Are you
so-
mic'd up? I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Really need it, but.
There you go.
All right, here we go. So I'm just gonna read through some of like the top things I think that we should know. So Jonathan introduced Lisa Carter and Annette Miserez Dillon. So Lisa and Annette Lisa is the new assistant executive director. So I don't know if you guys all knew about that. She's a former principal, assistant superintendent, and a superintendent. And Annette is the director of special education. When Jeff retired, he took his superintendent and special education background with him. So now they are happy to have both of these ladies back into the fold with that experience. So they're excited to have them on the executive team. They were just on the meeting we just had the other day. They seem very excited and very nice and seem like they really know what they're doing. Many districts, so there's just some bullet points. Many districts have turned to the Ed Advanced professional learning teams to provide back to school professional development sessions on a wide range of topics. Thousands of educators have engaged with Ed Advanced to learn more about the implications of AI in the K-12 learning space through the Chat EDU podcast and AI training sessions that they've had. Their new college and Career Accelerator opened its dual enrollment programs in advanced manufacturing and education, serving 70 students from 9 of their member districts. And August 23rd was the first day of classes for the University Pathways program at Post University, and August 29th was the first day of school for the STEPS Middle and High School Partnership Learning Academy, Beam Elementary School, and Access Middle and High School students. These quality programs serve students from 34 districts. So that was like the highlights of what's been happening. Any questions?
No questions, but it's, oh.
Do you want me to copy and paste that and send it to you so you can just copy it if you need it? You don't have to redo it. All right, let's just save you some time.
No questions, but I just want to comment that our partnership with that Advance, they customize everything that we need. It's so different than our previous RESC, very, very unique to rural districts, small town districts like ours. It's been an absolute pleasure working with Jonathan Costa as the executive director. It was working with Dr. Jeff Kitching as well. It's been seamless as from a district perspective. So I wanted to share that at the board level too. It's been incredible.
And Jeff, you got that invitation I sent you for the,
Yes,
okay.
Yep. Double checking the calendar to make sure I'm
Okay.
not out multiple days of the week again.
Okay, thank you for the report. Are there any further questions regarding the Ed Advance report?
Does Jeff want to give a quick update on the contract negotiations or not?
We don't have it on the agenda, so I don't think we can we?
Yes, you can. It's a regular meeting. You can add anything. Little
Would you like to
desires.
make a motion to add that to the agenda?
I'd like to make a motion that we ask Superintendent Souza to give us a brief overview of the ongoing negotiations.
Okay, no,
The ones that we're in right now?
Yeah, it's very brief.
Brief.
just status update. So again, that can only be added to the agenda with 2/3 vote.
Right.
So we have a motion by Penny to add status update on ongoing negotiations to the agenda, seconded by Frank. All those in favor?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, can we even discuss this?
We can't discuss it, but he can at least give a brief update in case anybody's curious. It's very brief.
Okay. All those in favor for adding it to the agenda, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed?
I don't really,
And 2/3 votes there anyhow. Right? Okay.
All right, here we roll. On the spot, brief overview of negotiations. Number one, we are very thankful and grateful to the work of our law firms, Shipman and Goodwin, for their work and their diligence in collecting information and providing data to help us settle the contract with our custodians. We are moving into mediation with our next two MERA groups. That would be our administrative assistants and our paraeducators as well. One will be taking place this week and one will be taking place in a couple more weeks. So that's a quick update there. And the final update is we've had a few sessions with our administrative group and we are working towards working out a contract with them as well without, again, adding more information. But everything has been polite, civil, great communication, respectful communication across the board from all of our employees and our board members. So hopeful that we will have some more positive news to report very shortly. How's that?
Good.
All right.
Beautiful.
can I confirm everybody said yes to that?
No, it was 4-2. So
Eric, yes. Penny, yes. Tim, yes. Frank, yes. No, Megan, no, Deirdre. I understand what you're saying.
I just, you have to be so careful.
It was brief.
You did great.
that's good.
There's a test.
All right, next item on the agenda is public comment for agenda items only, seeing that we do not have any public in the room.
We have Paul.
Yeah, Paul, would you like to speak?
Oh, cool.
And our last item is K, adjournment. Motion to adjourn?
So moved at 7:43.
Wow, that is the fastest board meeting in like, I don't even.
It's
know.
not over yet. I need a second. Second by Frank. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion, meeting is adjourned at 7:43.